Wow, I'm so glad to see you guys, Chioma and Amarachi. That's amazing.
So funny.
You sit down close to this thing. Go. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is our second episode of Naija Girls Gist. Of Nigerian family here in Atlanta, Georgia. We try to get together every time with our children to create an open space where our children can speak to the parents in an open space, no judgment, no scolding environment. That is what we want to create here. We try to teach them about faith, about identity, about. I appreciate everybody who's here today from North Carolina, from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to introduce our speaker for today. I was able to get this highly sought after speaker to speak to us today because of conversations that I've been having with Yolanda. Yolanda is one of the one of the one that is spearheading the program. So Mrs. Tracy Salami, she's African American, but she's married to a Nigerian man, and she's an attorney. She's a lawyer. She works in corporate America. She's been to Nigeria and many times, and a big ambassador of Nigerian culture. So that's why she runs one of the biggest Nigerian lifestyle channels on YouTube. Try to share. Let me see. Let me now find images. Okay, so Mrs. Tracy Salami, she's the convener of the YouTube channel called Nigerian Lifestyle, where she teaches African Americans, especially African American women who are married to Nigerian men, about the culture, how to integrate to the culture. And she also shows the African American side to Nigerians who just moved to the US, who are trying to settle down, who are trying to understand, how both cultures interact. So as you can see, she has videos that the viewership goes into the hundreds of thousands. And when she's not doing that, she's an attorney from Monday to Friday. So she has a good perspective of everything that we'll talk about. And they're also a good Christian family as well. So please welcome Sister Tracy. Let me stop the share now. So you're welcome to thank you for joining us today. Okay. So what we're going to do is that after introducing her, I'm just going to ask her a few questions, and then I'm going to open the floor for the children to ask questions. I know that Yolanda has a lot of questions that she and I have discussed, but most of them I couldn't answer them accurately especially because I'm not a woman. I'm really a black man in corporate America, so we'll get to that point. So, Sister Tracy, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I want you to see our friends here.
Oh, wow.
We have quite a number of guys here. That's Maya.
Hi, Maya.
Did I say hello?
Hello.
That's my cousin.
Hello.
And that's Yolanda. That's Auntie Blessing. That's Yolanda's mom and Maya's mom and Angela's mom.
Hi, Tracy.
Hello, sister. How are you?
Well.
And that's Ayofeoluwa, my little daughter. Yeah. Then we also have online two enigmatic and charismatic young ladies from the Agbaji family. Chioma, can you say hello?
Hi.
Hello.
Marachi, how are you? Where's Chioma too?
Chioma, say hi. Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
times. You couldn't make it today, so they are joining online because they're very busy at home. So, Sir Tracy, tell us, what has your experience been marrying into Nigerian culture and discovering Nigeria, visiting Nigeria, Lagos, Abeokuta, Obasanjo farms, and all of those places? How has it been?
It's been great. I am overwhelmed with a lot of love and care and support. It's a very special thing that I married into my husband's family and have just really tried to embrace everything. There is a lot of differences between African American culture and my husband's Yoruba culture, but then there's a lot of things that overlap. So it has been what I like to call a beautiful struggle of trying to find the right balance for our family and figuring out what are some of the traditions, certain parts of the culture, and then also teaching our children because we have a 5-year-old daughter. Her name is Iwa, and then we have a 3-year-old son, Ayotunde, and they both have gone to Nigeria and they fell in love. Iwa in particular was not ready to come back home because she met all of her cousins and was running around, really enjoying herself. And so I think that it's a blessing to be able to go back to Nigeria and be with family, relax, eat good food, see people. So it's just really been life-changing for me personally and a blessing altogether. I'm enjoying it.
That's great. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
How did your family take it when you told them you were marrying a Nigerian man?
They took it really well. They were interested in learning what it meant to be Nigerian in particular. And initially, when we first get engaged, it's all about wedding and wedding preparations. And when they realized that we were going to do wardrobe changes and we were going to wear native, and some of the women would be wearing Aso-Ebi, they were like, "What? What is this? How do I know which styles?" And so I started showing them like Bella Naija and some other blog sites where women always show their fashions, certain accounts on Instagram and Facebook even, where women are always coming up with the latest Aso-Ebi styles. So for that part of wedding preparation was really fun. And I think the person who enjoyed learning more about the culture the most was, funny enough, my grandmother, who is the eldest person in our family. And at our wedding, she was getting sprayed with dollars. And it was so funny because at first she didn't know what to do. So I said, "Grandma, what did you do when they started spraying you?" Because I went in, I was doing a wardrobe change when it all happened. She said, "I honestly didn't know if it was for me or if I was supposed to save it for you. So I just started putting it down my bra." And everybody burst out laughing. It's like, I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. So I think my family has really enjoyed my husband, Lakon. They've really have tried to communicate really well with my stepfather, my father-in-law. And so there is a language barrier, depending on who they're talking to, but I think it's been nice that my family has responded extremely well and been open. They've tried different dishes, like they don't discriminate when it comes to food. So everyone has tried a lot of different things. And of course, they love Afro beats and stuff like that. So it's just been a fun thing all around to have my family support as my husband and I build our family together.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing the background with us. Obviously, this is a Nigerian audience, so we are very glad to hear that. Tell us a little bit about the response from Nigerians on YouTube when they saw your channel, this African American woman who is extolling the virtues of Nigerian culture and encouraging, basically explaining her experience and teaching what it means to be African to other Americans. What are the highlights of your interaction with Nigerians from your channel?
It has honestly been overwhelmingly positive. I remember my very first video was about naming our daughter Iwalewa and just talking about how we came to make that decision after giving birth in the hospital. And there was people jumping in saying, "Oh, my daughter is Iwalewa, my son is Iwalewa." And there was a man from the UK who named his child Iwalewa, and he just started sending me loads of history and videos and songs with the name, and people really just really supported the channel. They gave a lot of positive feedback to me, and they started making requests saying, you know, can you do a video about this, or can you do a video about that? And so it's just been overwhelmingly supportive. And I don't mean to say that I don't get some hateration and some trolling, because that happens on both sides. African American people and Nigerian people have said things that they just didn't agree with me on certain things, and that's fine too. I welcome different points of view. So, but for the most part, I've met a lot of people. A lot of people have befriended me even offline, like my brother Adejuwan, who's now
Yeah.
become a part of like our family. They just, a lot of people have really embraced us. And we sometimes go to parties and people's like, oh, I watch your wife, or I watch your channel. Or we had a family friend visiting someone, and he said they walked into their house and my video was on their television. He was like, oh, that's my brother's wife. And it was just so funny that people are really watching, even though some of these videos are really old now, people are still watching it. And it's great to know that it's being well received.
Well, that's beautiful to know. I think that's excellent. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit about your background? And so, of course, we Nigerians, Africans coming in from Africa as immigrants, we don't really know much about what's going on in the United States, especially in the Black community. So, if you could please give us a sneak peek into your background vis-a-vis the cultural context in terms of racism and school system and the disenfranchisement that black people face. Can you give us a little sneak peek into your background? Were you ever affected by anything like that, or your family members? How did you deal with it growing up?
Okay, that is a very big question, but I think it's important, if we're going to talk about being in corporate America, it's important for you to have this background knowledge about me so that you'll understand some of the things that I talk about later today. The main thing that is most impactful for my family is that we are Southern Black Americans, meaning that my family they are direct descendants of slaves, and most of them still live in areas where parts of our family members were enslaved. So we're talking Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama. Those are really huge slave states in America. So there's a lot of things that happen even after slavery ended that still impacts the way we operate today. To give you one really good, vivid example would be my great grandmother, maternal great grandmother, and great grandfather are from originally South Carolina. After slavery, a lot of things happened and they were not being raised by their biological parents. And it was just the way that things in the community ran. To make a long story short, my great grandparents decided to relocate to Florida because they were farmers, for lack of a better phrase. They were sharecroppers in South Carolina, meaning that in order to feed their family and have a place to live, they had to work the land that was owned by their former white masters and their descendants. And the way that sharecropping was really implemented in the South was that it was just another form of slavery. So in order to live on this property and eat from the harvest that you farmed, you had to almost like that you were given a loan, or you were given some sort of credit towards the seeds that you were sowing in the ground. And it was a perpetual cycle of poverty that you simply could not get out of. They would say, oh, the market went up for seeds for corn or whatever. And then they would be charging some exorbitant amount where you would never be able to move your family away. So there were some Klansmen who came and threatened my great grandfather and literally ran them out of town. They had to leave in the middle of the night. But because
Hold on,
my
please.
family,
Hold
sorry?
on, please. Hold on. Guys, do you know what Klansmen mean? Do you? Okay, so that's the Ku Klux Klan. That's the white supremacist terrorist organization at the time that terrorizing Black people. I just want to make sure that the kids understand, because we read about these things, we watch them in movies, But I don't think that the Nigerian community in America realizes just how recent these things are and how the impact still lingers till today. And listening to you talking about your great-grandparents just experiencing this, I think for me, it's even eye-opening, like, because that's just big. So I wanted to make sure that the children understood.
I need to know what that's for.
Yeah, so they call Klansmen. That's the KKK. That's like a white supremacist terrorist group. And in America, in those years, they will go into black homes, drive out the family, burn down the home, just killing black. I mean, it's bad, man. It's very, very. They were the ones behind a lot of the, Tulsa, Oklahoma, burned down, Rosewood, any prosperous after slavery and all of those struggles. Any prospering black community, they will find a way to start a riot, kill a lot of black people, drive them out to ensure that black people could not rise beyond a certain economic level, which effects still linger up till
I
today.
would say it does, because I see that a lot of anger in the Black African American.
Yes.
There's too much anger, too much. They're always on the defensive, always ready to fight.
This is the history.
Yeah.
See? This is the history.
So I should respect them more, because sometimes I feel like they're doing too much.
No.
It's not because they are doing too much. It's a pain that comes from somewhere.
It's been centuries coming. My sister and I were talking about the Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if you saw the Jeffrey Dahmer story. You saw it?
I'm not. They do.
Yeah.
I try as much as possible.
Tracy, did you watch the Jeffrey Dahmer story? The thing?
I'm a capital defense attorney, so I know a lot more.
Yeah. Exactly. We'll get to the criminal justice part. And we're talking about how the black lady, the neighbor, kept calling and calling, and they just kept ignoring because he had, but this is the thing that's causing the anger.
The anger in there.
Yes, because while our ancestors in Nigeria owned land, farmed the land, harvested it, sold the crops, built a house, owned the house, transferred the house down, transferring wealth, seeking education. Here, our people here were battling to survive. I mean, up till the 60s. So please continue. Sorry for interjecting, but just wanted to make sure that point we didn't lose.
That was a good point. Because I don't want to confuse anyone. I don't want to speak too far above where you are. So just slow down, like like my brother did. Just stop me if something is not clicking, if something is not making sense. But what he mentioned about the KKK is important, because people think that, just because slavery ended, why can't you people just get your lives together? You are no longer slaves. For my great-grandparents, they literally had nowhere to go. There was no home. There was no property that they can actually put their bag on that belonged to them. It just didn't exist. They were ex-slaves. So the only thing that made sense for them was to stay on the land where they once were slaves and continue to work, but work for money. The problem with that sharecropping system is that it was rigged. It was set up so that they could never leave. They will always be owing the owner of the property, because they are living there and their children are living there and they're feeding off the land, and they still need money for the seed. So there was a perpetual cycle. And if you wanted to break the mold, if you wanted to be smart and use your God-given sense to try something different, your life was threatened, because even though they couldn't call you a slave, they still wanted you to function in society as a slave. And so the only thing my great-grandfather could think to do was to take his family in the middle of the night and run away. But because they were not an educated people, he ran in the wrong direction. And you can laugh about that, but he ran further south, which is not in the direction you need to go. You need to be going towards New York or New Jersey or even Canada to get away from all of this discrimination and all these sentiments. But he went to Florida because he knew that there was more farming available and they were paying better, and there was opportunity to potentially to be a landowner. So that was something that made them gravitate towards the South. Now, my grandmother And my great-grandmother growing up in this sort of family atmosphere created limitations. They had limitations. They could not go to school like we go to school. To be able to get up and walk to school, because there were no buses that were going to take Black children to school. They had to walk for miles. They had to have proper shoes. They had to be able to sit down in a classroom and follow along with what's going on to get an education. But if you are a child of a farmer, an ex-slave, you didn't have time to go to school. It wasn't that your parents didn't want you to have an education, but they really needed you to farm because they were owing the landowner, or they were in such dire straits that they really needed you to be working. So my grandmother, if she was here today, she will tell you that she only went to school when it rained. When it rained, she was happy because on that day, she knows she will be able to go and see her age mates. She will see people who are her age. She will have an opportunity to learn something because she wanted to read so badly. And by the time she got to school, she was filthy because it was raining and there was mud, and she didn't have the best of clothes. She didn't have the best of shoes, and she hadn't been to school for so long. There were oftentimes huge gaps in time. So she couldn't consistently go to school to actually learn something. So every time that she goes, she's starting from scratch. The teachers are frustrated and they're wondering, why didn't your parents just let you stay home? Like, just because it rains, you're causing an inconvenience for this classroom now. So just imagine how a person can feel ashamed or embarrassed with having to enter into education in that way. So with that being the backdrop, I love to make sure that I don't misrepresent who I am. I come from a working class family. My family has always lived paycheck to paycheck, just trying to make it, just trying to cover the bills. And I think that that's important for you to know about me because it informs a lot of the decisions that I make and some of the things that I want to change. And I think that in my approach to education, I had my grandmother in my ear saying, baby, there were days I couldn't read the book, and she would go and buy the book. If there was something special happening at school and it cost money, and for whatever reason, we couldn't afford it, she would find a way to put things together so that I can go. If there was a special trip, if there was a special calculator, because I got to calculus or something at one point, and I needed some special calculator, and it was really expensive, but she would find a way to make sure I have what I needed. And my mom did the same. I think that my mom and I are the two outliers in our family, and that we try to do something drastically different from what other people have done and what they're doing even now. And it makes it difficult to go home at times because I am the one that got away, if that makes sense. I'm the one that's doing something a little different than what other people in my family are doing. And I think that there's a lot of conversation online or even on college campuses about what's going on with the African American population. Why is it that we're still frustrated? Why is it that even now we're still struggling? And the way that I like to explain it, especially when I'm speaking to Nigerians, is that Nigerian people became independent October 1st, 1960. At that time, Black people in America still could not vote. There were people who died, who were lynched, who were killed, who lost their jobs, who were cast out of their communities for even trying to vote. So if you wanted to try to see a timeline of how things line up, at that time when Nigeria was an independent country, still with its own set of problems, African Americans in America were not able to vote. We were still seen as second-class citizens. And even though we were business owners and land owners, it didn't mean anything if we couldn't have control somewhere in the ballot. We didn't have any representation in the Senate. We didn't have any representation on the executive branch, and barely little, if any, in the judicial branch. So our government was not a reflection of us in any way. And the laws that were being enforced during that time did not benefit us. So that is kind of a little bit of my background and how I approach my thinking and how I enter into corporate America.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. You know, that's very honest, very deep, very reflective. Like, ooh, Sister Blessing, that's tough.
Very tough.
That's very, very tough. I mean, that. So we'll get back to this topic because it's one of the sensitive topics. But let me go to your work as an attorney. I know you and I had a discussion recently where you told me that you go to schools, to high schools, to speak with young kids, Black kids, to essentially, tell boys how to relate to police, girls what to do and things like that. So we have children here who are teenagers who are in high school in America, mostly girls, but this is a program that we're recording, so boys can listen to it. As somebody who grew up in America, as a Black person, with the history that you've told us, you lived it, your parents or your grandparents lived it, and you see what is going on. You work in the criminal justice system now. What advice would you give to our children? These are Nigerian kids, mostly born in Nigeria, and then moved to the United States. And they're, going to school, interacting with the system. A lot of times they can't interpret what they are saying. Heck, we adults can't interpret what we are saying. We don't understand. Like, we have the same skin pigmentation as African Americans, but why do we act so differently? Why do we relate with police so differently? Why do we relate to fashion so differently? Why are my parents telling me it's a doctor, lawyer, engineer, but when I speak with my friends in school, they're talking about rap, basketball, or something like that. Like, so there's a lot of, of course, there's a difference in mindset, that difference in culture that our children are interfacing with. What would you, as somebody who's seen both sides, and work in the system, what recommendation would you have for Chioma and Amarachi, Ayonfe, Yolanda, and Maya sitting here?
That's another loaded question. And I guess there's several things that I could say, but I want to start with the mentality. You picked up on pretty quickly that there are some psychological differences and there are some cultural differences between these two groups of people. And the truth of the matter is that there is a lot of psychological trauma that has been passed down generationally within African American culture. There is this there's this effort to push African American people beyond the psychological trauma, but it is extremely difficult because it's embedded in the systemic racism throughout our country, whether it's from renting or owning a home, where you go to school, which doctors you see, the quality of the water that you drink, whether or not there is a railroad crossing through your neighborhood, what level of education and the quality of teachers that you receive while you're attending school. There is levels to what is happening in this country, and it's been that way for a very long time. So for people who have not been born and bred and raised in that trauma, there's a different way that you approach opportunities and life in general when you come here as an immigrant. One of the things that I love when I go to Nigeria is that when I look around at even the advertisement, everyone is Black. And it is so freeing. It lets me know that in Nigeria, the way that I look, the way that I behave, the way that I communicate with people in my community, that is the standard. In America, that is not the standard. There is a woman that I wanted to share with this group. Her name is Demetria Obilor. She is a journalist who is Igbo. Her dad is Nigerian, and so her mom is white, but she's very much aware and conscious of her Nigerian background and culture and family.
What's her name?
Demetria Obilor. I will actually try to share my screen. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. I'm going to make sure that I'm sharing with sound. So just one moment. So this lady, if you look at how she is dressing, her Instagram does look, you know, like she's wearing a lot of suggestive clothing. But the truth is, Demetria is extremely intelligent. She went to university for journalism. Look at how many followers she has on Instagram. There's 1.1 million followers. And if you go to her TikTok, she has even more. She was a news anchor in Dallas, and then she was also a news anchor in Las Vegas. And she recently lost her job, and she's now only featured on podcasts. And what she has faced in her career is like a body shaming issue. I'm going to actually try to.
She had a flatter.
Yolanda and I talked about this particular body shaming issue. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up because I know that I'm talking to girls. So what I'm actually going to back up and go to this story. So she is on this show on Revolt TV showing, this is a teacher. This is a teacher out of New Jersey. This is what she's wearing to work, and she's posting these pictures on Instagram. She's being very particular and not showing pictures of students' faces, but she's just has this Instagram account where she's showing how she's doing everything throughout her workday. The problem that people have is that she's very shapely. She has all these curves. And so she became a topic of discussion a couple of weeks ago because parents are really upset. They're saying that she's dressing inappropriately for her job and that she's supposed to be educating the children, yet she has this Instagram account where she's showing all of her body. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring up when I met with you all today is that Demetria has been one of those women who kind of fights the status quo. But I feel that we have to address
this double standard, because if she was white or if she had a flatter bum or less breasts, I don't think people would be having an issue with her. This is something that I was body shamed for when I worked on the news in Dallas, Texas. It was this viral global moment where a woman told me that I looked like I was a size 16, 18 trying to fit into a dress size 6.
I think, Demetria, you look amazing in that outfit, right? But I would have to disagree. I think that being on a professional job or more conservative positions like teachers or news anchors, you have to accept the responsibility that comes along with that.
What if I told you that dress that I was wearing, another white anchor wore the same thing and was told nothing? I believe it. And she never received that criticism. There are times, right, but I think that for that, there's a double standard, and there's nothing wrong with having a more curvaceous figure. I look at this teacher, like I said, fully clothed. I don't think that because you have a big booty or some big breasts, that makes you unprofessional. It's very difficult to find clothing that even fits you, because it's just now that the clothing industry is even acknowledging different figures. But I feel that we have to address.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure, if nothing else, I talked about this in the context of our conversation, because there, again, is a double standard that exists in our country where white women's body is the standard versus in Nigeria, the way that you look, your braids, or if you want to wear natural hair, if you want to wear cornrows, it's not a problem. But people like Demetria or like the school teacher who have these bodies that, well, I don't know if the school teacher's body is natural, but Demetria doesn't have any surgery. She works out a lot. She eats well. She takes care of herself. And what she's saying is that I have this shape that God has given to me, and I'm doing the best that I can with my job. But because I can't be my authentic self when I show up to work, it's a problem. So when we talk about psychological trauma within the context of America, we have to remember that we are operating in a country that is not our own. And the sad thing about African Americans is that we cannot pinpoint where on the continent we're from. We can take the DNA test and it'll give us some idea. Most of my family is Nigerian, but they can't tell you what tribe. And there's all these questions about the authenticity of it. And so I think that it's important to know that when you're coming in from Nigeria to America, you are coming in and you're going to be mingling with a group of people who are essentially lost. They have their culture in America, but they don't have the culture from back home.
It's amazing that you said that, Tracy. Wow.
So I think it's important that when we think about how we enter school, how we enter work, how well we succeed in society, we bring on all of the issues that we're raised with. So if you were raised in a place where you're taught, like in Nigeria, that Black is the standard, that it's certainly possible to be a Black president, that it's possible for you to be a doctor and a lawyer and a pharmacist, and you can point out examples and you can show people where the school principal is Black, where the doctor is Black, your surgeon is Black, and there is a diversity within your community. I know that there are some tribal issues and stuff like that and historical things that have happened before in Nigeria. But one of the things that I love about Nigeria is that when I get there, I can breathe because everyone is Black and I'm not in defense of who I am. I'm not questioning who I am. I'm not worried about whether my hair is straight enough or if the humidity hits and my hair starts to puff, if I'm not going to be well received. Because a lot of people say when your hair is straight or relaxed, white people relax. I don't have those worries. If it rains, if it rains in Nigeria, I'm caught in the rain and my hair starts to get all puffy, I'm still okay. I'm still a Black woman who's worthy of being greeted. I'm still someone who deserves respect. And in America, we don't have that same sort of dynamic happening in school or at work, or even when you get to college. There's going to be people who question whether or not you should be in the room. Do you deserve to be here? How did you get here? Was it affirmative action? Were you a charity case? Did someone slip a note in for you and got you in, even though you weren't qualified to be here? And there's like this question of whether or not you're good enough. When in Nigeria, people may question, it may be some class issues going on, but no one's questioning because of the color of your skin, whether or not you qualified to come to this university. So even though I try not to embrace all of the trauma, we have to recognize that it's in the room.
It's there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So as a Black woman in corporate America, how do you deal with that racism and how do you deal with sexism? A lot of the kids here, literally all the kids online right now are girls. So with a combination of racism we talk about, with a combination and sexism that women face, like Malcolm X said, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And we're raising Black women and we want them to excel in America. How do you deal with the combination of that racism and the sexism without losing your temper, without raising your voice and navigating this shark-infested waters to succeed at what you do?
If I'm being honest, the quote that comes to mind comes from a historian, W.E.B. Du Bois. He talks about two-ness, how as African Americans, we can feel our two-ness. We're American and we're African American. As a woman, I like to say three-ness because I'm American, African American, and a woman. And if I were to align those things, when I walk into the courtroom or I walk into a bar conference, the first one that comes up on my radar is my African Americanness. It's not whether or not I'm American, it's my Blackness. And then the fact that I'm a woman. Because most of the time when I walk into court, I'm the only Black person there unless it's a defendant. Most of the time when I'm going to a conference, or a few weeks ago, I was in Ithaca, New York for a training, I was literally the only Black person there, like no one else. And that is something that as you ladies, Chioma and everyone else, as you guys move up, you go to college and you start out in the corporate world or wherever God leads you, you may be the only person in the room that looks like you. And I think that a lot of what I've learned over the years is to lean heavily on the promises of God. There is nowhere I don't go without prayer, whether it's just now on Friday, walking into my office. As I'm walking through the door, I am prayed up. I'm praying through the halls, I'm praying in my office. And when I sit down to do my work, I'm thinking of my clients and I'm thinking of my purpose, my God-given purpose in being in their life. So that is one of the main things that I carry with me at all times, is that I am a woman of faith. And there is nothing that's impossible when you have God covering you. Nothing.
Guys, did you hear that? There's a reason why we take you to church. The different set of challenges in Nigeria, we know. It's a different set of challenges in America. You're going to meet, that's a practicing lawyer, born and bred African American. So you need God. You don't need to get close to him. You don't need to read his word. You need to pray. Because if you don't pray, the system will get to you. And if it gets to you, you might lose your cool. If you lose your cool, you get branded. Period. Just one time. You act out in one corporate meeting, you are branded. Oh, she's an angry black woman. You can block your opportunity. So what she's saying is that there's a battle going on in the mind. There's a battle going on. Maintaining your composure in the face of such provocation, which is constantly picking at you. I've experienced it too. And honestly, one of the reasons why I left Western Pennsylvania, I was living in, I told you the story. I used to live in Pittsburgh. And even though I'm Nigerian, I was usually the only black person on the table discussing. And that pressure, honestly, even if somebody doesn't do anything, the fact that you're sitting with 10 people and you're the only black person, what that constantly did to me was that it put me under pressure to adequately represent the black race. I didn't want to say anything that was stupid so that it won't sound like black people are stupid. I didn't want every email I wrote, every slide I developed, that's pressure. That's pressure. And when you go through that on a daily basis for a career lifetime, you need God. Yeah, you don't need drugs. You don't need drunken. No, you don't need alcohol to become. You need prayer. I think we need to emphasize that for our children. And thank you very much for sharing that. We appreciate you a lot. I can keep on asking questions because this is where my passion lies. Where I want the kids to ask questions, the girls. Does anybody have any questions for Auntie Tracy? Chioma, Amarachi. Okay, go ahead, Amarachi. Unmute and ask your question.
Okay. I don't have a question.
Oh, you look like you have a question. Don't be shy now.
I didn't have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Amarachi.
I thought I didn't have a question.
You did not have a question?
Yeah.
Okay. What about anybody here?
Question.
I know you have questions. All those questions you were asking me, this is the best person to speak to.
Yeah, I have
No, sir. Okay, Auntie Blessing, a parent has a question.
Okay.
Okay, my question is this, is like more of a fear or something that I really don't understand, how to incorporate the kids. What's the best way, being a Nigerian child? Because it's, even for me as an adult, it's sometimes confusing for me. So I really don't talk to whether white or black. I don't. It's because it's so confusing for me. I'm not able to align with them mentally, culturally.
So you just do your own.
I don't make friends I don't have any African American friend. I don't have any.
Apart from Sister Pito, your people.
Pito is all the people I have are Nigerian
friends.
Then maybe another people I'm able to align with are the Jamaicans.
Because they are more African-like.
Yes, I think so. So their culture is kind of similar with us. But for the kids, it's very scary to me because I don't even know it. So I don't even know how to push them. You know, I'm complaining about where we stay, and it's all Black American, and my kids don't come out. That's how scared I am. They don't step out of the door. Like if they step out, if I see the camera, I'll be like, what are you doing outside? Get back in. That's how scared I am because it's all Black American area. I don't want any mix, you know, any mix construction of anything. I don't want anybody to say anything to them that would, you know. So even at school, I am very scared of what they listen to in school, what they tell them in school, because it's all Black school, you know. One of the reasons why I want to move out from where I am and all that. Now, being Nigerian, you have a little bit of, you understand the Nigerian culture and the American culture.
Yes.
What's the best way to incorporate these kids into what kind of school? Is it an all-Black school or a mixed school? Or because even the white kids are terrible. Yeah, they are.
Sister, that's a loaded question. But I want to challenge you to challenge yourself, because the truth is that when your children go to university or they start into the workplace, not everyone around them is going to be Nigerian. Not everyone around them will be African, and they will need to know how to relate and how to thrive and succeed in an environment that does not look like home. You can't shelter them so much that they don't get out to get experience with other people. Now, of course, as a mom myself, we're all concerned about who's influencing our children. And for teenagers especially, that is the number one thing. Because when you become a teenager, your peers become the most important people in your life. They will act like it is their world. All these friends that they have that they want to go to the mall with, are going to want to go to the fair with, wants to go shopping, wants to go here and there. You want to be careful about who your children are commingling with. So as a parent, I can't fault you for that, but I want to challenge you to look around your area for different organizations that align with your own values. And for a lot of people, that starts with church. And for some others, it could be other programs, because there are programs for teenagers. There are sports programs, dance programs. You have to be able to do your own research to figure out who are the people that participate in these sort of programs. What kind of family backgrounds do they come from? It's very important. And not Atlanta is so different, and my husband has started to see that now, that in Atlanta there's so much diversity within Black American people. There are Black American people in Atlanta who are wealthy, whose kids have the best of the best schools, the tutors, the programs, and they're streamlining them to go to Ivy League. Then you have middle class family where mom and dad are present, everybody is working, they have the means to take care of their children and then some. And then you have those who are not as fortunate, who are struggling, who kids are going out doing all sorts of things. And sometimes those kids are even doing things, even though they are in different financial categories. The truth of the matter is that you just need to ask questions, do your research, and know where your children are. Know who their friends are. If they're telling you that they met a new friend at school and they want to go do something, you need to know who the parents are. Where do they live? How do they live? Do they work? What are they doing on their day-to-day life? Because all of that stuff can be swept on the rug by our children. But as parents, the priority or the duty is on us to find out what is going on. Who is this friend? How did you meet them? What kind of grades do they get? Who do they hang out with? You know, all of those things are important. And I'm telling you that because I'm coming from a family that was lower class. I come from a family that did not have the means. And a lot of people in my family are not doing the right things. and find themselves on the wrong side of the law. But I thank God, it's by the grace of God that I had the friends that I had in high school. My friends in high school came from the very nice side of town, Black families, the very nice side of town, great kids, going to church, being a part of the community, doing community service, playing baseball, running track, doing different things. So the only thing that I knew how to do, even as a young person, was try to do what they did, because I don't need to do what my family is doing because I see what's happening there. So if I want to improve my condition, then I will mingle with people who are doing those things. And it's the same thing that I would say to a parent. Know where your children are. Who are they hanging out with? What sort of grades are they getting? What is the character of this family? How are they living? Where are they living? And when it comes to finding the community, you would do the same thing. My husband and I, we were searching for a long time for a house, but we were so particular about the community. We were so particular about the schools. We wanted to know what resources, what programs, what activities are available in this area. What kind of families live in this area? Because you can't keep your kids in the house all day, every day. At some point, they will be tired and they will challenge you. And some of their growth will be stifled because you didn't give them an opportunity to branch out and be around other people. So I want to challenge you to challenge yourself to figure out who the friends are, where they're from, what kind of programs are available in the area that makes sense for the things that you value, and make sure that your children get involved with people who don't look like them. Because when it's time to go to work and when it's time to go to university, most of the children in that classroom will not be Nigerian. And you want them to be able to relate and work with other people.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to work on that, but I tell you, I'm very scared. I look very strong.
Honestly, if you watch the news, I understand, because there's all this craziness happening every day.
It's too much.
Every day. It's scary. And then in America, there's guns everywhere. Everyone has a gun.
Yeah, that's what I tell them every day.
Yeah.
You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to say so anything can just happen. Somebody can shoot, somebody can plan to hit you, kill you, just for
and as a girl
a
too,
dollar.
even the risk of molestation.
The guys, the younger, even your mates, younger girls.
Yeah.
The what do they call them? The white kids. They are horrible. They kill.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Jeffrey Dahmer story, he was able to allure a lot of people into his apartment because he said, "Oh, I want you to be a model. I'm going to take pictures of you and I'm going to make you this star and all this stuff." But I always caution people that, you don't, Tyra Banks has taught a lot of people this as well. Like, you don't have to do sketchy things to be a star. You don't need some stranger coming up to you to say different things to you. You have to know what's good and what's bad. The choices that you make today, even though you're 13, 14, 15, 16, the choices you make today can affect what happens to you tomorrow. Today is not, I'm still young. When I turn 21, I'm going to get my act together. No, it is now. I have a good friend whose mom used to go out to the beach, a white lady, go out to the beach when she was a teenager, lay out in the sun all day, get suntan, because that was the style back then. When she got older and she had just gotten married, had her first child, skin cancer.
Wow.
Skin cancer, and it spread to the rest of her body, and she died. So my friend died my friend lived without a mother, essentially. So even though her mother was only a teenager and she was only just trying to go to the beach and lay out and get a suntan, that decision that she was making as a 16-year-old impacted what happened later, that she wasn't even able to raise her own child. So even now, 13, 14, 15, the decisions you're making now. When I became a lawyer, well, before I could become a lawyer in New York, they do a background check. And I kid you not, as God is my witness, the New York State Board of Bar Examiners sent a request down to Florida for my entire school profile. So that by the time I went to see the judge for my swearing in, he showed me a picture of myself from when I was 5 years old. The picture was this small.
What?
They pulled everything to become a lawyer. Anything you've ever done.
What
If
we
you
talking
went to
about?
detention, if they suspended you from school, if you got into a fight, the Board of Bar Examiners knew. So before I become a lawyer, I have to explain my behavior. If I did something wayward, if I went to university and acted a fool, got drunk, misbehaving, cheating on tests, all of it was in that. I didn't do those things. But if I had, that judge would have been asking me a million questions. Like Miss Salami, or back then Blake. Miss Blake, what was happening when you were in high school? Why were you fighting? You know, why were you cheating on a test in the university? What is happening? Why did you lose this job at McDonald's when you were 17? They said that you were fighting a customer. Like, all of those things will stick with you and they will follow you. Even if you're trying to become a doctor, they will do a background check. If you want to be a lawyer, they will do a background check. And it's not just criminal. It's not just credit. They will pull your whole entire school profile. If you want to be FBI, any and everything that you've ever done will come up. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to prepare you to make good choices today. You always have a choice.
That's important. Yeah, I don't think you're not scaring them at all. Like, that's important. I can't emphasize it enough. I've spoken to Ayofe about it. I know that me and Auntie Blessing have spoken to Yolanda about it.
Because if I'm saying it, I'm shouting, I'm screaming.
Yes,
She's saying it
they
in a way
will
that
do everything. Everything. If you said something bad, Rachel, do you see what happened with Judge, the guy that went to Supreme Court, Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Kavanaugh. Before they could confirm that guy, he pulled something he did at 18.
Yes.
18
Yes.
years old.
Yeah.
And it was this close for him to miss that appointment.
That
They
appointment.
dragged him.
I remember.
Imagine the embarrassment, you know, after all of his other accomplishments.
And you know what? For that Judge Kavanaugh, the lady that he harassed at 18 when he was drunk, she came and testified. He was already a full professor, married with kids, but she still came to testify to say, no, he did it. In Nigeria, we don't have that problem. If you make a mistake in your teenage years, you can turn it around. Nobody will remember. Here, and especially as you're also Black.
Yeah. Hey.
You don't have that leeway. We don't have that leeway.
They will remember. They won't care that you were 16. They won't care that you were 14.
Wow.
Then they won't care that you're 14. They won't care you were 8 or 10. So long as you said it or not.
Yeah, you did it
or not.
You don't. So the last question from me, so I don't want to take. I'm enjoying your talk.
I'm enjoying.
It's like I'm
Honestly,
listening.
It's
like I'm listening to
I have
music.
to go, but I think we have to do this again. I'm really, really enjoying this, honestly.
It's like the one question that Yolanda and I discussed that I know that I didn't have the best. So please, I want you to wait before you. I want you to contribute to this issue. I knew that I tried my best, but I knew I wasn't the best person to answer that question. Had to do with the Black woman's hair in the corporate world. So, and I was hoping that you would talk about it because she brought up the issue that I've read in many places, how Black women in the corporate world have to do their hair in a certain way in order to fit in, essentially. So what is your experience in that area? And Yolanda, do you want to couch that question properly? Because you are the one that asked. Come on, come forward, please.
So that she can hear me.
Yes. Talk to her directly.
The question was that why do Black women have to wear their hair a certain way to sort of impress like the corporate world? Like,
This is the best person to answer. She's a Black woman, she's an attorney, she's a Nigerian, so she's a Christian. So please, Tracy.
So I think
By
the
the way,
answer to your question.
Yolanda is a lawyer. She's a lawyer. This one. God made her a lawyer. If you spend 30 minutes to talk to this girl, let me show you her face. This one, no. This one you are looking at. If you engage there for 30 minutes, you will be in a state of shock at how much intelligence and how much of cultural knowledge she has taken in. She is the one that inspired me to start doing this. To say we need to start talking to our kids because she's reading too much. She's reading a lot of things, but she's not interpreting them accurately.
Okay.
So she's a lawyer.
Yolanda, I want to challenge you, counselor. That's what we call lawyers in the courtroom, counselor, to go and read a lawsuit against American Airlines about hair. There was a Black woman who was a stewardess, airline stewardess, who wore dreadlocks, and she was fired from American Airlines because of her hair. She didn't want to have to cut off her dreadlocks in order to maintain her job. And the Supreme Court said that hair is not a permanent trait. Like our skin is brown, and there's nothing that we can do about it. It's the way God made us. And our country protects people based on the color of their skin. But our country does not protect people based on their hair. Your hair is something that you can change. And that is what the Supreme Court said. Now, companies have evolved since that court case. A lot of things have changed. One of my closest friends from high school is a judge in New Orleans, and she wears dreadlocks every single day to court. That is the way her hair is. That's the way it is growing. And that is what she does. And I think that one of the most important things to consider when you're going out into the corporate world is to go where you are celebrated. There are going to be some jobs that you take for the money. And you may not like all the situations that are happening in that office. You need the money. Take the money, gain what you're supposed to gain from that position, and move on. The ultimate goal is to be in a place where you can honor yourself, your highest self, where you can show up to work and be yourself. Unfortunately, this country is not ready for all of our braids and our cornrows and our dreadlocks and our afros. But things are changing. It is changing. It's not fair. It's not okay, but that is where we are today. So when you show up for work and you're someone who's like Demetria Obilor or that school teacher in New Jersey that I showed you earlier, you want to make sure you follow protocol because you don't want to lose your job because you're not following the protocol. And if you can't stand to work in a space like that, then you have to move on. I think one of the things that I forgot to mention about Demetria, the news anchor, is that she recently lost her job because the viewers complained. Everyone was complaining that this lady is a distraction. Really? That this dress is not appropriate. That the way she comes on is showing us that it's going to rain today. This cloth is distracting to me. And even though
I can assure you, it's women, it's mostly women that complain.
Yes, of course.
Maybe their husbands were gawking and they were like,
yes, that she was a problem for them. But there was nothing that she was doing to herself. She even said on that little clip I showed you, a white woman was wearing the same exact dress, but no one complained. And it's nothing that she did to her body. She didn't go and add extra parts to her body. It is the way God made her. So I think one of the things that I've learned in my practice is to go where you are appreciated, where your talents can shine. As long as you are dressing to the dress code, you're coming to work clean, your hair is clean, you have the right attitude, you don't start doing all this gossip nonsense that happens in the office, that you're doing your job. You shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
On the floor. My mom wanted to add on to what she said.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Auntie B.
I would like to add something to what our sister just said. To buttress that point. Yolanda, like I always say to your sister, in everything you're doing, be the best and be the first. When you are good and you are an asset, people will even emulate your hairstyle.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying? Make sure you're decent, your appearance, first and foremost, you satisfy yourself. And as a child of God, you know you satisfy God. What you're wearing, because as a Christian, your inside reflects on your outside. When that is in place, be the best. Be someone that they cannot dispose easily. Even your boss will follow suit. Like when I was telling you, remember when you guys were talking about real estate the other day, I said, no, you have to own the estate and let people, you have to dream big. Be like, let your companies, just like when Joseph was in the house of Potiphar, he was in charge of everything except Potiphar himself and his wife. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you are like that, if you are in that position, if you study very well and you place yourself in a high level with your knowledge, your wisdom, with what you contribute to that company, I promise you, if you wear an African attire in a particular way, others will even ask you where you get it from.
Thank you, Ma.
It's true.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Wow.
I would say I even relate to that because a lot of people at work, you know, I dress in a particular manner, and you know, people tend to say some certain things, but I find out that it never gets beyond that level. You know, I'll feel like they would have told my supervisor, then not even like the director. So one day I was having a chat with the director, and I was telling him, I said, I know they would have reported me like 100 times. He said, Blessing, I tell you, nobody has ever said anything wrong about you. You know why? Because I do my job. I do what I'm supposed to do at the right time. I don't wait to be directed. I don't wait to be this. I don't wait to be that. I do my job. So each time my name comes up and they have to match up what people say and what the camera says, then they see me doing the right thing.
That's right.
So I have never had to, no, so when they talk, they can only talk on the low. But when you're good at your job, at school, people will be friends with you by themselves. You don't even have to look for them. They'll come look for you. I was telling them, I tell them, I say, at work, people try to chat with me all the time. But I don't have that time because I'm at work.
Okay.
I'm someone that likes to talk, I like to chat. But when I'm at work, when people come and you are draining me because I'm doing my job, you know. So a lot of people have noticed that about me, that when I'm at work, I don't talk, I don't play.
So due diligence and excellence.
And excellence. So every other thing,
excellence, yeah.
every other thing comes behind.
Okay, so Tracy, my last question for the day, for we'll call it quits, has to do with cultural appropriation. Yes, this is important. Yolanda is very passionate about it. Yolanda feels that a lot of people love to borrow from Black culture until they have to be Black. And what that means is they kind of use the beautiful parts of the Black culture, but when they're supposed to stand up for being Black, then they kind of chicken out. Especially people from other races. And she's very passionate about that. And I wanted to check with you. I'm of a different opinion. I feel like if people of a different group are copying off Black culture, it's flattering to Black culture. It's like nobody copies something ugly or something. So kind of validating that we have something good going on. As a Black woman, have you ever, what do you feel about cultural appropriation by non-Black people on Black culture.
I
Okay,
cringe
please hold on. She wants to couch it properly. Come
Oh,
on.
yeah, go and
Okay.
say.
You're the one that can really.
I completely disagree with what you said. It's not flattering
Okay.
at all. It's
Wait.
She feels he's stealing.
no, it's not just stealing. It's like saying that
No, speak to her.
other people can like just like represent our culture for us. That's exactly what I feel like you're saying. Like other races can just come in and you know, have braids and do this and do that and like represent our culture for us when we're not doing it ourselves. We're just sitting back and letting them do it and thinking that, oh, it's because they love us. They're showing their
Wait.
Robert, can you mute for a minute so that okay, good, go on.
they're representing our culture for us. That's what I feel.
You mean okay, so what you're saying is Black people
And that we are not doing same for them. Like we don't try to be like them. Like we don't try to go straighten our hair because when we like what she's saying about hair, when we straighten our hair, right? It looks like people kind of look at you like, oh, why are you straightening your hair? Are you white?
Exactly.
Then the white people will be like
they call people what?
Oreos. Like
Oreos.
you're white, you're Black on the outside, but you're white on the inside.
you know,
Oreo cookie.
so she's not like, why are they trying to copy us? When we try to copy them, then it's a problem.
It's a problem. We're not trying to copy them. It's
Okay.
just, we're trying to survive. Type.
What do you ask?
Like, you know what? No.
Help me understand.
Like,
I still don't understand. Honestly, I don't. Tracy, I don't know if you can respond to it. So
you need to talk to Auntie
Tracy,
Yolanda.
yeah, talk to Auntie Tracy.
Because
And
you
let's,
don't need to understand this grammar.
I don't feel like we're copying off of them. It's more like we're
Okay, talk
like,
about them. When you feel like they're doing our kind of hairstyle or trying to behave like we behave. All right.
so what is wrong with that?
What is wrong with that?
it feels like they're representing our culture for us. And while because it's not that white people don't have their own type of braids, because they're, have you seen Argentina, it was because what's her name again? Kim Kardashian. I think she's Argentinian or something like that.
Armenian.
She's Armenian. And they have their own type of braids. Okay. But she decides to go for box braids instead of going for her own culture's braids.
Okay, so why is
what is wrong with that?
That's like representing that. It feels like they're representing our culture for
like
us.
they're stealing our culture.
Well,
like,
so if Kardashian does that doesn't. How does that stop us from? How does it take?
Because she's a big character. She's a big She has a big role in like fashion and stuff.
She has a big platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best word is exploitation, because she can monetize anything. And so she is profiting off an image that is not authentic to her. That is not who you are, but you are able to make money off someone else's culture. Okay. Even if you're not making money, you're gaining clout and you're having this increased notoriety. Even if we just look at her body, which is not natural, that she has gone to many, many doctors over the years and had sculpted into the shape that is traditionally more African than anything else.
Took out her implants.
Yeah. So she may have taken out her implants, but if you look at her bottom half, she's very shapely, and that's not natural. That was something that is not natural and a true representative of who she is. Even her face. There's many things about her that are not real, but she is leached onto others' culture, and she has gained from it financially over the years.
Like she's denying her own culture and moving on to
something else. So it's the exploitation. That's part. That's
the word.
Is that what you're angry?
Is that what you don't like? I
understand. Now we
understand. Now I understand. We did talk about
what can we do to let her understand that it is not important to, is it important to?
In the grand scheme of things, it does.
Because the anger she has in it is
she's
too
angry
much.
about it. This 13-year-old, how old is she?
12.
This 12-year-old has a very intelligent position on this topic and she's angry about it. And I'm trying to break and dissolve that anger. How does it take away from us as a people?
That's what
that
I
is
want
the
you to look
thing.
at Auntie Tracy.
Has it taken away from Auntie Tracy as an attorney? Has it taken away from Auntie Jessica as a doctor or whoever? What is the impact on Black people?
Yeah. So I don't think that it takes away from you at all. There's no one that can be more Naija than you. She can't be more Naija than you. Isn't that beautiful? That it is natural. There is nothing that you need to do to fundamentally change anything about you. You are it. You are the standard.
Period.
Nobody's representing you more than you. Nobody can represent you more than you.
Forget what she's
If
doing.
she's exploiting, making
whatever
money from
she's taking, your own is assured. Like
it's natural.
Your full person as a Nigerian American woman, you pursue your talent, you pursue your purpose and your excellence, and you will find your space. You will find your followership. You will make your money. You will build your own world. It doesn't. She might be opportunistic in that approach, but she doesn't speak for you.
For you.
She hasn't taken your voice. Your voice is still strong. Chimamanda Adichie in America, an Igbo girl, a writer. The world is bowing for her right now.
Yeah.
They are inviting her to speak in places because, like Auntie Palumi said, she's excellent at what she does, and the world just opens up for excellence, regardless of who's trying to appropriate anything. So don't let it anger you. Don't let it build resentment towards any group of people. No, don't let it do that. There's no point.
Jama has something to say.
Jama has something. I saw her hand.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just had to say, because I completely disagree with that. But I have a reason too. Because
what do you disagree with? You've said a lot of things on this issue.
Okay. I disagree with it not being okay for other people to take African culture.
Okay. Tell us.
Me personally, I think that you're African, and Africans honestly are awesome. Our food is awesome, our music is awesome, our attire is awesome. And when everything about us is different, we're amazing. The fact that you're African, you should be proud just for the fact that you're African. When other people look at that and they admire that and they want to be like us, you shouldn't feel a certain way, because that's stinginess. You should feel proud and want to share your culture with them. It's not necessarily that unless somebody is even if somebody is lying and saying I'm African and they're not African, that has really nothing to do with you. If people are listening to Afrobeats, wearing African attire, eating African foods because they admire you, if anything, you should feel proud and you should want it to happen more. You should walk around, tell people about your culture, spread your culture, because if you all keep it in Africa, then what's the good of it? Because other people don't know about it.
I think what some of my friends who are Nigerian in particular are upset about with it is that back then there was a song. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They're all on me. It wasn't cool to be African when my friends were growing up. They were African booty scratchers. They were every name in the book. And so now the Afro beats is hot. Now everybody wants to wear Ankara. Now everybody wants to go to Ghana and go to Nigeria and go to South Africa. It's the cool thing to do. It's like a trend. And my culture, she's saying, not my words, is not a trend. You weren't there when we were struggling, when we were called every name in the book. Even now within Black American culture, oh, it's hot. But there were times when even Black Americans called, even today, the way that my husband is treated sometimes. I think we were in New Jersey and one of our neighbors told him to go back to Africa. The problem is that it hasn't always been cool. So now that it's cool, now you want to hop on the culture. And so that is what frustrates some people.
I agree with that, but at the same time, nobody rocks it better than you do.
I see.
If that makes
Naija better than you. I like that.
nobody can do
I
it
got it.
better
I like
than us. No matter how
That's
much you want to eat the food, no matter how much you want to dance the dance steps, your skin's not gonna change. You're still gonna remain like who you are.
You know,
I honestly just
Mhm.
I just honestly see it as like is an admiration, and I don't think like it should like discuss, because then if you think about it though, if you think about it, it also in the other way around in school. Like I think Yolanda's mom might have mentioned it, like when you straighten your hair and they call you like whitewash. Honestly, like that whole logic to me is really unfair, because like if you like certain things, it's not really stealing the culture. If you don't wear your hair in box braids or certain braids, that doesn't mean you're not black, that doesn't mean you're not African. If you like your hair straightened out, that doesn't mean that you're white. Cultures don't necessarily like belong to people. They're just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a certain group of people that have that culture, but it's like it's meant to be shared.
For everybody.
If that makes sense.
I like that school of thought. To round it up, thank you very much, Tracy. Like,
There's some parts that
you
just
know,
can't.
to round it up, let me tell you, we are, for all of the cultural appropriation, we are still in the best of times.
Yeah.
There was a time I watched a lot of Malcolm X speeches, and I remember the particular one that says, "Who taught you to hate yourself?"
So,
And you should probably watch it. Who taught you to hate yourself? Where he goes in. If you go back 50, 60 years and go and watch black movies, black music videos, you will see that all the men, the Jerry curl their hair will be literally Jerry curl, because they wanted it to look white.
yeah.
There was a time when we were trying to be like others, because we had been told that there was something wrong with our visage. There was something wrong with our hair. There's something wrong with our lips.
We always relaxed our hair.
Yes.
But now everybody's
All of us, all our people were trying to copy others. We were ashamed of our own skin. A lot of us were ashamed of our own skin, of our own lips. People were doing all these things. But now the trend has changed. Now we are comfortable in our skin, and some exploiters are even using our image to make money. I think we've come a long way, so it's not the worst. We've not gotten the worst of it. So it's a topic that we'll continue to explore.
Yolanda has something to say.
But okay.
I hate that word trend. I don't like that word trend.
Trend as in what? In what
Because
manner?
trends, they go like they're popular for some while and then they just die down and nobody cares about it.
So like black culture is trending, you don't like that?
No, like I love that it's trending
But
right
what
now.
happens
But
when it stops
what
trending?
happens after it stops trending?
Don't let that bother you.
Why are you bothered about it? Seriously, as a 30-year-old who's supposed to
Why
make
you
great
bothered about
grades.
how the trend goes?
Nobody can tell the
We
future.
can
We don't
tell.
know. Like before Afrobeats became hot,
We didn't even know it was.
what were
going
we
on.
just when we were young? You know,
We were
Michael
dancing
Jackson.
hip-hop,
Yeah,
hip-hop,
Michael
yeah,
Jackson,
that's what I
Tupac.
knew.
When I was in college in Nigeria,
Yeah.
before the Afrobeats movement kicked off around 1999, 2000. I got in college in 1996. Well, we went for parties. We didn't in our own in Nigeria, in Africa.
Yeah.
We didn't play a single African song
Yeah.
because the music at the time
Was hip hop.
Yeah, for young people,
Tupac,
the only
Tupac,
African music that we had was old, like King Sonny Ade and Ebenezer Obey, and we the young people couldn't relate with those African genres. So what did we do? In fact, we spent. Do you know how much time I spent studying the lyrics of songs on Hip Hop World? There was a man that started my Hip Hop World.
I spent all my money buying lyrics.
I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I take a look at my life.
Uncle Jay, come on.
You just that, I'm serious. California I'm serious. We didn't even sing our own songs. So around 1999, when Two-Face Divya and the band, all of these guys started Afro beats, they did something big. You guys may not understand it.
Because you did not see that trend.
Like the pride that I have in Afro beats today, because it's not just the music, okay? It's not just the dancing. It's the announcement. We are no longer invisible.
Yes,
We are a part of the world family. They made us, we are so invisible, even to ourselves. And that is the thing that even surprises me, man. Like, we even underrated ourselves. You understand? Like, we go for party from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and it's all American music.
Yeah.
From Tupac to Biggie, from Biggie to Ginuwine to Tevin Campbell, from Tevin Campbell, we'll do some Michael Jackson, we'll do some Mark Morrison. And that was it.
That was all.
So we've come a long way. That trend has gone. Now we are in the Afrobeat trend.
Let's go with flow with
the
it.
world moves. If it moves again, we move with it. It's as easy as that.
It's come to stay.
I don't even think, exactly, I don't even think it's going anywhere. Honestly, I don't think it's going anywhere.
They're taking our food now. They're taking over our food.
Even Yolanda takes food to school to her friends. She tells them this is jollof rice, this is ayamase, this is.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
It's not going nowhere.
Because I mean, yeah, it has come to stay. I think there's going to be some form of
we don't know how it's going to look
a
like.
mix. There's going to be a mix at some point. Everything will just mix together. You probably will be able to just look at the number of collaborations going on between Burna Boy and Chris Brown and Drake and Wizkid, and so everything is going to mix with each other. You understand? And these are Afrobeats that Nigeria is championing. It didn't start in Nigeria. Guess what? It started in Ghana. Ghana is the roots of it.
Okay.
So how about Ghanaians now being angry that we Nigerians are taking what they started and then we're taking it to the world, making it sound like it started with us because we are just naturally loud. We are just confident. We fill up all the space. Nigeria hold too much.
Yeah, you're just naturally
So
loud.
all these things is just don't let it bother you. You know, it will figure itself out. The one thing that you have to be confident in is no matter the style where they reign, you go maintain, you go establish. That's what matters.
You know, and I tell her every day because I stand up at work. When they ask me, I say, "Oh, you African?" I said, "I'm not just African, I'm Nigerian." And they'll be like, I say, "Yes, because African is a whole big thing. I'm Nigerian."
You have a whole unique identity.
Do you know what they call Nigeria? I'm Nigerian. And everybody keeps looking at me. I say, "Yes, I'm Nigerian. I'm not just African because we are bigger than every other African country. This is me. You see me now?" They'll be like, "Oh, no wonder you're that confident." I say, "Yes, I'm Nigerian."
I was walking down the street near where the other day that you saw me from the car. I was walking down the street right by the courthouse. I was just walking. A man from the other side of the street, you know, a brother, he waved to me. So I waved back. And then I didn't know him. So I don't know you, sir. So you're Nigerian. I said, yes. Well, how do you know? He said, no. Well, how do you know? He said you have the Nigerian walk. I've never had that before.
How
Nigerian they walk? I'm telling you, you have that Nigerian walk. I was like, oh, really? No, that's Nigerian walk, but you know,
but that just shows you how my sister just stood up and said she's Nigerian. That is how you should approach any office, any and everywhere you go, that you are unapologetically Nigerian. That's it. You don't have to explain anything anyhow. Just be yourself. That's it.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Since morning. She has children that she has to go now. Please, just for my sake, just take this one question from my little girl. Okay.
I just want to know why her hair is straightened.
No, she has a big one.
Oh, I mean, but like, is it because she's a lawyer in America that she has to like wear a wig that's straightened?
No, this is my hair. This is my hair, and I got a blowout. So I change my hair all the time. But if you see my office picture on the law firm's website, I'm wearing braids. I will do whatever I want to do with my hair. If I want it straight, it will be straight. If I want to wear a wig, I will wear a wig. If I want to wear box braids, I will box braids. I straighten my hair around this time every year because it's the only time I can wear my hair like this where I won't start looking like Oprah. So that's why I'm just wearing it straight for now.
Okay, cool. Well, Tracy Salami, Nigeria Wife Style, thank you so much.
You're
You've given us
welcome.
a trove of knowledge. You answered a lot of questions. I told her only on Wednesday evening or Thursday evening, and despite her busy schedule, she gave time to be here. We appreciate you a lot. Guys, can you please say thank you to Auntie Tracy?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
We will also subscribe to your channel. We also subscribe to the channel. We look forward to the videos. Greet Brother Lekon for me.
I
and
will.
The entire family, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you too. See you guys in church tomorrow. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Choma.
Bye.
Bye.